Hello everyone, welcome back. It's early September of 2022 and I thought we'd take a walk on a rainy day through the Pawpaw orchard. We're actually, as I'm filming this, about getting ready to go to the Pawpaw Festival down in York, so I thought it was an appropriate timing. These are our 4 pawpaw trees, actually purchased this one here and the one behind it actually 3 years ago down in York. As you can see, it's filled out really nicely. This tree gave us 3 fruit last year. This year I have it protected because we've just had an awful time with squirrels in our apples and other trees. For some reason, they haven't touched the pawpaws, but I don't want to take any chances. There's a nice cluster there. These are Shenandoah. As I mentioned, I planted this tree. It was a pretty large tree in a 5-gallon nursery pot, so it was probably 4 feet tall when I planted it. And it's done really, really well here. It's just gotten really, really bushy. Last year, which would have been 2 years after I planted it, we got our first fruit. It got 3 fruit. This year it has 11 fruits on it. So it's coming along really nicely. There's 3 there. I've got a cluster of 4 there. I'm actually 4 and 4. As you can see, I'm kind of tying the tree up here. Last year I made the mistake of not supporting these branches, and when the pawpaws started to get really ripe, just like every fruit, they size up near the end. Right near the end there, they put on a really big flush of weight and everything, and it just snapped the little tree branch, which was such a bummer. We still ate them. I was able to ripen them, but it's not ideal. Since I've filmed this, I've actually put some stakes in there to prop them up even more. This is NC1. I planted this the same day as the Shenandoah. No fruit yet. It did flower this year for the first time, and as you can see, it has a number of flower buds for next year, which is really exciting. Even if they don't flower, or even if they don't fruit, they're right next to the other trees, so for pollination purposes, this was really nice this year. It only had a few flowers, but it's loaded with buds for next year. So when you look for pawpaw flower buds, you're really looking along the branches, and right where the leaf meets the branch, as you can see that little, when this focuses here, it's the tough part, there we go, that little red circle, that's a flower bud. They look like little balls. And as the trees mature, those will get a little bit bigger. Those are next year's fruit buds. Here is an Allegheny. I believe it's still an Allegheny. I got this from One Green World in 2020, so it came through the mail. It was probably like June when I planted it. Also, that one I planted the same day. That's an Overlees, both from One Green World. And then these two. These pawpaws are about 6 feet apart from front to back, and 8 feet side to side. So they're going to be pretty tight, which is okay. It'll be good for pollination. They'll just be one kind of giant, just massive pawpaw, which is just fine. Just kind of showing the general area. This was a pumpkin patch. When I first moved in, we made this a pumpkin patch, and so we put a lot of compost, all kinds of stuff in the dirt here, so these pawpaws have a really, really rich soil that they're in, and they obviously enjoy it because it was just yard, and so I put so much, just so many amendments into the soil for the pumpkins, and obviously those are still in there, so these trees are living life, but growing really well, doing very nicely. This Allegheny was broken off the very first year, but look at the leaves. So I'm not 100% sure if this is actually the Allegheny graft or if this is the rootstock, but whatever it is, it's healthy, and those leaves are absolutely gigantic on that one. It's kind of fun to see the different varieties of pawpaws. Just like anything, different varieties will grow in different ways. They sort of have different tendencies. The NC1 always seems to be a tall, skinny, every time I see them pictured anywhere. So we'll take a little walk to our other ones. There was our zinnia garden there. Speaking of the Pawpaw Festival in York, these are the 2 very first ones that we purchased from that on the same day, so one is much bigger than the other. This is a mango. These are seedlings, though, not grafted. All those other trees were grafted. These 2 are seedlings. That mango seedling is probably 6.5 feet tall. As you can see, it's taller than our 6-foot fence, so I would say it's probably pushing 7 feet now. And this is Tatu, which was a much smaller, just slower growing one. But it's healthy. It's doing really well. As you can see, my sign's a little knocked sideways there from birds landing on it. But that one's taken really nicely. For whatever reason, it's just been a slower growing tree. And then these are just seeds that I stuck in the ground and forgot years ago, and they're popping up. Those have been in the ground for a couple years. And then tucked away over here is a little baby right there, a little baby pawpaw. That's from our homegrown fruit from last year, our Shenandoah. So we ate our fruit. I planted the seeds, just stuck them in the, I sprouted them and stuck them in the ground. I have to clean up over there. There may be more than just that one. So let's take a walk over to our largest tree. This is sunflower. We planted this in 2017 in the spring. We ordered it from Stark Brothers. It was just this tiny little pencil in a 4-inch pot. I wondered, is that thing going to grow? And boy, has it. Now I have this protection around it. I've never really had any issue with animals except for deer. But for whatever reason, this year, the squirrels have stripped our apple trees, peach tree. It's been brutal, and so I just don't want to take any chances. That'll at least keep them at bay. It probably won't be 100% protection. But as you can see, this sunflower is loaded with fruit. I'll show you a bunch. There's 31 fruit on here. We've never had one before. So this is, as I mentioned, 2017 it was planted. It's a grafted sunflower, Pawpaw. One of our favorites. It's just a really nice flavor. It's not one of the Peterson ones, but it is a named variety, an old variety. There's a pawpaw there. You can see the netting kind of interferes a little bit. As I mentioned, the netting is just sort of to dissuade the squirrels from getting right up on the tree. They can probably climb it, but it is also not tight purposely, so that if they try to climb it, it kind of scrunches down, maybe discourages them at least. We haven't had issues with the pawpaws, but as I mentioned, the squirrels stripped our peach tree. We only had maybe a dozen peaches this year, but it ate every single one. We didn't get one. It also destroyed every golden russet I had. I think I had 55 apples on that tree, and we didn't get one, which is really unusual. We've never had that happen. I think I have my theories. People in the neighborhood would put corn out for animals, and they aren't doing that anymore. And I actually think that was saving us, because I think the squirrels were eating the corn and not bothering our trees, and so we'll have to figure out something. But check out this just clump of pawpaws. That is just amazing. As I mentioned, sunflower, it's a really good flavor. It's I think a really good balance of pawpaw flavor, but also lack of bitterness. So sometimes, you can get real bitter fruits, especially with the wild ones. But sunflower we've really enjoyed when we've only tried a couple from the Pawpaw Festival where they sell the fruit and you can purchase them based on the variety. Yeah, but this one it went from never having a fruit to 31 fruit. And I hand pollinated all of these this year. So this is the first time I've done that, and I think that made a huge difference. Just used a little tiny little paintbrush, like a watercolor brush, and just basically put it in one pawpaw flower, swirled it around a little, went to a different tree, stuck the brush into a different flower, and just kept doing that back and forth. So pawpaws are pollinated by beetles and flies, not by bees. And so they're sort of an unusual tree. They're just such a cool tree in general. So this one we're looking forward to seeing. So thank you for watching. I'll keep you all updated on how the fruit comes out. So the one thing I worry about is, will the fruit ripen before it gets too cold? I mean, that's the thing. The trees are healthy. As you can see, they have a nice spot here that gets lots of sun. There's an apple tree right next to us here. That's a Honeycrisp. We'll talk about that in a different video and its relationship to the pawpaw. But really, our biggest concern is not necessarily the tree being healthy, not necessarily will it fruit, but now I'm wondering, will this pawpaw's fruit become ripe before it gets too cold in the fall? So that's kind of the thing we're looking at here. So again, thank you for watching, and we will keep you updated and hope to see you again soon.